spent the day at the Winthrop Market. It's here in the Tampa Bay area. This is the second time I've tried to, I've gone to a farmer's market. The first time I tried about a month and a half ago. No, I'm sorry, closer to two or 3 months ago. Had some issues with equipment and the canopy. Only was able to interview one person. Was much better prepared now. Got all that knowledge from kind of what I learned from there and took it here. I did end up hiring somebody to help me, Jordan Trowbridge, delightful, intelligent, and engaging young man, helped me through the day. I had him on the podcast as well. But Winthrop Market's a wonderful farmer's market. I had a couple hundred vendors, and it's in this Winthrop Square, and it's a great event. The booth is fairly inexpensive, but the goal, the mission, was to talk to people that I just wouldn't be able to talk to typically, and have great conversations. And I did just that. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. It was a hot day in Western Florida. Got up to about 90, but there was a slight breeze, and all the equipment worked well. We got solar panels and a charging unit to charge all the equipment. First gentleman, Bobby Perdomo, was a fascinating man. He came back from addiction, is bouncing back and helping others. Jack Tanzerite, assistant, his PA, works on the back. Very interesting discussion about myths and how to better help the back. Michael Johnson. There's a dying language called the Gullah. It's in the Low Country. For those of you who are not familiar with the great area of Charleston and Kiowa, that whole area of South Carolina, it's called Low Country. And there's a language there that's spoken only by 250,000 people. And it's still trying to live and preserve and move on. And Michael Johnson was talking about that. It's fascinating how these languages live on. The Smithsonian Institute has acknowledged it. Joel Chadnow, fascinating. Joel is a teacher in his core. He's very much into wellness. Fascinating stories. He teaches at the community college here, and his road to wellness, what it took to get him there, and why he was just a teacher. What happened in that pivot to make him just that. Ray Bezarez was in the Navy, became a minister, a pastor, and some of his challenges there during that transition. He wasn't the best when he was in the military, and what he had to do to get over that to continue his life. Great conversation. Charles Jacobs, my goodness. When he was in the military, his troops wanted some kind of path to success, to life. So he made this line in transition, this whole complete system, this paradigm that he's created. And he walks people through it, and it's absolutely wonderful. I can't wait for you to. Russell Graham, fragrances. I know very little about this subject. I let others do that for me, but he is a professional at fragrances. He did serve time in the military. He's out, talks about discovering them, what it takes to do with them, how to apply them, how to use them. He's got great stories about that. My last conversation was with Jordan Trowbridge. He's got great things to say about the Florida Everglades, and he's into animal rescue. He loves reptiles. We talk about the python issue in Florida in the Everglades, and fascinating young man who's engaging, very, very smart, and boy, the world is his oyster. Great day at the Winthrop Market. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How'd I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others.
I moved to North Carolina, and my bosses down here sent me a text, said, "You happy with what you're doing?" I said, "Nah." I said, "Well, here's our offer." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm coming back." Here I am.
Wow.
Been here since Wednesday.
And you're from the Bronx originally?
I was born in the Bronx, 7 years. Then I moved to Jersey. Then I went down to Florida, got saved, and became an associate pastor for 40 years. Had my own ministry for a couple of years.
Wow.
Figured God stirred me in the pot long enough, and then decided I could come out of it.
And when did the Navy happen?
73, 74.
I see. Before you became a pastor.
Oh, yeah, way before.
Yeah.
I actually picked up the Bible when I was in the Navy, and I went, who could read this thing? I put it down. About 7 years later, I got saved.
What did the Navy teach you, Ray? Come a little closer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
What did it teach me?
Yeah.
There was this one chief. I was a young kid, 17 years old, real snot-nosed kid, didn't like authority. And this chief came down into the bathrooms, and he taught me how to clean a urinal. I mean, to the point that I was embarrassed that he was cleaning the urinal.
Whoa.
But I never forgot that. Never forgot. I mean, it's been 50 years.
Because he was at such a high level, and why would he do this?
Exactly.
Whoa.
And he taught me a lesson that if you want somebody to do something, don't be afraid to do it yourself. And don't be afraid to show them how to do it right. Otherwise, you can never expect them to do it the way you want them to.
Huh.
Make sense?
Very humble.
Yeah. It humbled me, and I was 17. That took a lot.
Yeah, it sure did.
And
you stayed Navy 4 years?
No, I only did 2
It
years.
was 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was good? It was good for you?
No.
It
No,
wasn't good for you?
that's why I got out.
Why wasn't it good for you?
Because I didn't like authority.
I see.
So this one time I was in extra duty, so to speak. I was being punished for something. I don't know. I don't even remember what it was. They stuck me down in the boiler room, and I'm down there and I'm painting. And I said, man, it's getting really hot. And I went to the chief petty officer, a different guy, and I said, Chief, it's really hot up there, man. I think somebody turned the vents off. He goes, yeah, I did. Excuse me? He said, I did. I said, I'm teaching you a lesson. Really? I said, I respectfully decline to do it anymore. He says, you better get your butt up there. He says, we're underway, which means they could shoot me for disobeying a direct order.
Whoa.
So then I said, no, sir, I respectfully asked for captain's mask. And the executive officer came down, and he told me to get back up there and do it. And I told him I respectfully declined to do it. Feel like it's jeopardizing my life. And shortly thereafter, I went to see the captain, and he said, son, I said, you're not my father. Don't call me son.
Huh.
That's how that meeting started.
Wow.
Didn't end well.
But with all this issue of authority, becoming a pastor, you would think you'd have to recognize authority. I mean, it's God, it's Jesus.
I did. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It took years for me to get out of that.
I see.
But I worked for this one pastor for 14 years. I was an associate. And he was my mentor. And he taught me so much in a very little amount of time. See, I have this personality trait. I'm an A and a B. So,
both.
Yeah. So if I respect your authority, I'll follow you. But if you don't lead right, then I'll say, get out of the way. I'm gonna lead.
Wow.
So I can lead or follow. It just depends on who I'm following. But when it comes to God, I argue with him all the time, but you never win. And I always say I'm a retired pastor, but as long as you're breathing, you're never really retired.
Yeah.
So I'm just really waiting to see what he wants me to do. I have a lot of gifts.
Describe your relationship with Jesus.
Oof. First, I grew up Catholic, so God was a person that you had to be afraid of.
Right, fear.
He was going to get you.
Yeah.
My mother used Catholic guilt very well, and so when I came down here to Florida, and they took me to a Pentecostal church and told me that God loved you, and he wasn't hanging on that cross over there, and I was like, yeah, I don't believe that. But the day that I got saved, it was a radical transformation for me. I mean, I was set on fire that day. And I've had my ups and downs. I've been in, I've been out, been worse sometimes than before I got saved. But once I settled down, it probably took 20 years for that to happen. God started to direct my paths. And then I started to be walk in the calling that I have. And, I've helped start 5 churches. I've helped be administrator of this one church. I was a worship leader. I was the administrator. I cleaned the toilets. I didn't care because it was God's house. And my relationship with him was unbending until my wife died. I got really mad for about 3 years.
Wow.
And she was the love of my life. And I did a lot of things I'm not proud of. And I was always looking for a replacement. Didn't find one until recently, about a little over a year ago. After church, we were at Panera Bread, and this woman came in, and she was a widow. I was a widower. And, of course, I put on the old flirtatious moves, And I said to her, hey, I'm a pastor, so if you need to talk about it or anything, grief, I said, here's my phone number. She goes, oh, that's great. I'd love to have somebody to go to dinner with. And I said, I didn't say that. I'm thinking this. I didn't say that. 2 weeks later, we were married.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what my daughter said. Whoa. But so far, it's worked out really well. I said to her one day, I said, hey, you want to move to North Carolina? She said, yeah. Then a couple months later, I said, hey, you want to move back to Florida? And she said, yeah. No discussion.
Wow.
No arguments. I got my sister living with me. I got my sister-in-law living with us up there in Carolinas. And they weren't happy about coming to Florida. But I said, that's where I need to go. The company I'm working for, I work for JK&R Construction, and they sell doors, windows, and roofs. And they've kind of taken me in like family. So when they made me that offer, I was like, that was the best job I ever had. It was hard work, but the people I worked for were Christians and veterans. Great combination. And they paid me the whole time I was gone. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was they're a great company, and they're growing. And I'm happy to be a part of it because they asked me to be, So that's kind of where I'm at today. Got down here Wednesday. I'm staying in an Airbnb, and I just rented a house down in the Oaks, down in Riverview. I'll be moving in there June 1st.
So when your wife passes and you're at this low bottom of despair, those of us who are at that point, Ray, what can you tell them to get out of it?
Ooh, I never lost my faith in God. I was just mad at him.
Right.
I always knew he was there. I always knew he had a plan. I was just very impatient for his plan to come to fruition. I think what helped me most, there's a scripture in Matthew 22, and it says that when we die, when we go to heaven, we'll be like angels. There's no marriage in heaven. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, that means I'll never have this love for this woman again. I'll never feel that way again towards her because she'll be like my sister. And that kind of helped me put me on a path of getting healed. But it took years to heal. When I thought I was there, I wasn't. I was far from it. But it made me a better pastor because I realized that the counseling I gave people about grief was way wrong. When you experience it yourself, such a deep hurt, nothing like it. And funny thing, I was on pain management, so I was on morphine, I was on Vicodin, I was on fentanyl.
Whoa.
All right, for arthritis, my bad back, and everything. The day she died, I went cold turkey off of everything.
Wow.
And my doctors couldn't believe it, but I said heart pain trumps all pain. So it was rough.
Yeah.
So rough. 3 years, really was. And grief has a life of its own.
Yeah,
so
sure does.
You just got to walk with it, cry when you need to, and grieve when you can. And when you feel it, don't resist it. Because if you fight it, one day it'll ambush you. And then you're going to be a blubbering mess. And, 5 years later, I can still cry about it.
Right. Welcome. I'm Joey Pinz, and I'm thrilled to guide you through this course. Discipline for Greatness, unlocking your best self in 7 days. Whether you're here to take the first step toward a better you or looking to build on the momentum you already have, you're in the right place. This course is about real change, not fluff. Let's get started. This course is based on my book, Discipline for Greatness, 5 Steps to Success and Happiness. It's the product of decades of experience, and more importantly, conversations with hundreds of incredible people on the podcast. In the next 7 days, we'll focus on building purpose-driven habits, creating a balance in every part of your life, and activating the full power of discipline. You'll walk away with more clarity, more control, and real confidence. This course is based on my book, Discipline for Greatness, 5 Simple Steps to Success and Happiness. It's the product of decades of experience, and more importantly, conversations with hundreds of incredible people on my podcast. In the next 7 days, we'll focus on building purpose-driven habits, creating balance in every part of your life, and activating the full power of discipline. You'll walk away with more clarity, more control, and real confidence. Here's what to expect. The course runs for 7 days and 2 short episodes each day, 10 to 15 minutes max. It's fast, focused, and meant to drive real transformation. Each day builds on the last, so grow consistently. We've packed in reflection prompts, guest stories, and short quiz at the end of each day to help lock in the learning. Make sure you have your companion workbook ready. It's your space to journal, reflect, and take action. This just isn't information, it's transformation. You're going to be challenged. You're going to be supported. Most of all, you're going to be inspired. Discipline isn't about restriction. It's about unlocking potential. My job is to help you discover yours. Now you might be wondering, why did I create this course? Because I know what it's like to want more from life and not know where to start. How is this different from other content? Because this isn't about hustle. It's about harmony. What if I fall behind? No problem. It's designed for your flexibility. Do you need to read the book first? Nope. But if you do later, it'll reinforce everything here. And how do you get the most out of the course? Stay engaged. Use the workbook. Reflect. Commit. And finally, what if you don't see results right away? Be patient. Transformation takes time, but every small step counts. You've got everything you need to start strong. So take a deep breath, shake off the noise, and let's get started. Your best self is just 7 days away.
But then I get past it and I keep moving on with my life. That's all you can do. So, but God fills that hole, if you let him. And it took him 3 years to get me to that point where I'd let him.
When someone's looking for a pastor, Ray, when somebody wants to confide in a pastor, what kind of questions should they ask a pastor to find it the right fit?
I'll tell you a little story. There's a church in Cape Coral I went to. A friend of mine goes there. She used to go to my church. She's 83 years old. She kept calling me every weekend, come to this church, come to this church. And I lived about 25 minutes away. I was like, I don't want to go to another church. I said, I'm a pastor. I don't need to go to a church. So I thought. Anyway, I finally relinquished, and I went, and I observed this pastor. And he taught well. But what really impressed me about him is at the end of the service, he was standing out in the hallway, and he was like a bear in a salmon stream, and he touched every person, either touched their shoulders, shook their hand, had a word for him, something. And he impressed me so much. And I found out later on they were going to hire me, but I left and went to North Carolina. But that guy is somebody that I could have followed, and he was also very open, to... I prayed with him one time, and he's a very humble man. But the ones that don't hide from you, the ones that get right there with you, and they want to know about what's going on. This guy knows when somebody dies, when somebody's sick, when somebody's hurting, and then he marshals the forces around these people to help them get to where they need to be. Guy's a great pastor. His name is Keith Kruger. It's First Christian Church in Cape Coral. Great
Seems
guy.
real genuine.
Yes. And I've worked for a lot of pastors, and listen, they're human. You can't put them on a pedestal
Right.
because they're not there.
Right.
Their anointing is what separates them from the normal.
I see.
Okay, so some will be evangelists, some will be apostles. I have a great pastor that I'm ordained through. He's down in Word of Life Church in Fort Myers, and he has the best meetings of a lot of people, very spirit-filled meetings and stuff. And the man he's tied to Israel, and he's an advocate for Israel. And every year he has a conference with Israel, with the people from
Sure.
the temples and stuff. And they share so much. They're intertwined. He doesn't try to convert them. He just does him, And it's a wonderful thing to see, It's really an awesome time.
Ray, has there been anything in the last month or so you changed your mind on?
Yeah, actually, I was in that church in Cape Coral, and my wife and I prayed that God would speak to us, and the pastor came up, and we were at the altar, and he put his hands on us. He said, "I hate to see you guys go, but I know that's where God wants you to be."
Wow.
So that was our answer, and we went back to North Carolina, and I couldn't get I got a job, and they said, "You're not a good fit." Well, I've been selling for 40 years. He told me I couldn't sell. The reason was I didn't believe in him anymore because they were ripping people off.
Hey.
And as soon as I found that out, I was turned off. And I'm glad he let me go because I was going to leave anyhow. Then I had an offer from another job, a flooring company. Called them back, and I said, "In 2 weeks, you can have, we'll train you." So I go in there. 3 days later, I get shingles. And obviously, I can't keep working, and he let me go. But he said, "Come back in June." And the second day I was in that meeting is when my boss down here was texting me, "Hey, we want you to come back. Here's the offer."
Wow.
So God has a way of doing
There's a plan.
things. There's a pastor friend of mine who coined a phrase. He said, "If God fixes a fix to fix you, and you fix the fix, God will fix another fix to fix
Wow.
you, because he will get you where he wants you to be." So I had to go back to North Carolina, settle my business, figure out that wasn't the right place for me, and then God gave me an avenue to come back.
Wow.
That was awesome. So I'm here waiting for the story to unfold because I know that there's more that I got to do. I'm a kid at heart. I play video games, so
Yeah, you mentioned
I
that.
can relate to kids
Yeah.
and stuff. I play
What kind of video games do you play?
Play Call of Duty.
Do you really?
Yeah, I love it. And I get in the top
How
one.
old a man are you, Ray?
69. I'll be
69-year-old man playing Call of Duty.
Yep. And my thing is old. Well, OLLL.
Your handle.
Yeah, my handle is old wolf. And kids find out, I'm 69. I was a Vietnam era veteran, and they're like, "Oh, we want you on your team." I said, "I'm not that good." No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll cover you. I love it.
Good for you.
And
Good for you.
it's a lot of fun. And
It
it's
is.
a good connection with kids because they're like,
Yeah.
"You play video games?" Yeah, why not?
Yeah, they're great. They're so immersive. Yeah.
And they keep your brains going,
Yes.
and they keep your hands moving
Oh,
and stuff.
surgeons. Well, you play video games to get their dexterity corrected.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you're playing against a bunch of teenagers.
Sure.
Or war vets, and you're getting your butt kicked sometimes, but sometimes you kick butt.
It's humbling, yeah.
It's fun.
So,
It's
Ray,
fun.
I started my business back in the 90s. I was working way too hard, 14, 16-hour days. You're no stranger to that, Ray, I'm sure. And I'm in front of the doctor, and I'm 340 pounds. I'm way above where I should be. And she says to me, "If you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate." So it scared the life out of me. Spent the next 6-7 months, lost 120 pounds, kept it off. You can't look at it as a finishing line, right? These are lifelong changes. When I tell people the story, they say, "What's your secret? What'd you do?" I say, "There's no secret. Discipline. That's how I kept it off. Focus, willpower." How does discipline play a role in your life?
I quit smoking cold turkey.
Yeah.
I was doing a youth ministry years ago, and I thought to myself, how can I tell kids not to smoke if I'm doing it myself?
Right.
And that day, a pastor, old retired pastor, came up to me. He says, there's an Italian guy. He says, "If I tell him myself I'm not going to sit in that chair, it'd kill me to sit in that chair." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "If you're going to quit, then quit, be done with it. And I did. And people thought I was joking. They played around with me at work, like smoking cigarettes in front of me and blowing the smoke in my face. I was done, man. I was done. And sometimes you just have to find something greater than you. How can I say this? You got to find something that you can believe in order to do it. You believe that you were going to lose weight. You believe that you wanted to see your daughter graduate, okay? I'd love to see my grandkids graduate. I've seen one or two do it already, all right? I'm way overweight. I gained 30 pounds in the last 5 years because,
Wow.
I bought an RV, and you become very docile.
Sedentary, yeah.
Yeah, sedentary. And now I hurt so much that it's hard for me to move around and do stuff. But in my desire is I want to drop at least 80 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. That's where I want to be. And, you're always looking for the magic bullet, but there is no magic bullet.
No.
Like you said,
Yeah.
it's
secret.
you got to decide that this is the way you're going to live and stick to it no matter what.
That's it, yeah.
And if you deviate from the rule, then the deviation becomes the rule. So if you say, I'm going to do it, but hey, maybe Saturdays or Sundays I'm going to break the rules, well, guess what? Monday's a little easier to break the rules,
Yeah.
and then goes down the line and you're back where you started. So that's how discipline plays. You got to do what you say you're going to do. You got to set your mind to it and believe that you're going to accomplish it.
What motivates you, Ray?
I'm sorry?
What motivates you?
First off, God.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be obedient, okay? The enemy convinced Adam and Eve that God was not telling them the truth, and he made them disobey. It didn't make them. They chose to disobey. That's what sin was. It wasn't eating the apple. It was disobeying God.
Right.
And if God gives you an edict to do something and you don't do it, you're going to go to your grave regretting it. So what motivates me is ministry. I'm a salesman, right? I sell doors, windows, and I get in people's houses, and I start looking for telltale signs of where they're at in their religion. They got faith on the walls.
Yeah.
If they got God on the walls, I know I can talk to them.
Right.
If they got one little thing, maybe a scripture or something that their grandmother gave them, I'll concentrate on that. So
you.
before I go into a house, I pray, Lord, either give me souls or give me sales.
Ha!
And sometimes he gives me a twofer. So that's how it works. You got to look for what you got to look for what you want to see. And if you don't see it, maybe there's a way to make it happen. So you just got to look for an opening. God will give you an opening. You just got to be willing to take it. If he tells you, hey, go up and give that person and go buy a gallon of milk and give it to that person, then you better go do it, because there's a reason for that. You may think, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm going to go up and give you a gallon of milk? That's stupid. It appears stupid, but not in God's realm. In God's realm, that person just got touched by God because they didn't have any milk to give their baby. And you just told them that God told you to do that. And guess what? Think about this. If somebody comes up and says something to you that nobody else knows, how did they find out? Because God told them. And now you have been touched by God, and it changes your whole outlook. You thought you're in this world all alone, but you're really not.
Fascinating. So given your motivation, Ray, of God, how do you measure success?
I don't worry about success. Success happens when you do what you're supposed to be doing. I make a lot of money. I made so much money last year, I was able to take 6 months off, and I still got paid every week.
Wow.
Okay. My motivation is helping people. All right. I mean, people think you're in there to sell them. Well, you're not really there to sell them. You're there to help them. All right. So you want to, if they got 35-year-old windows, you want to give them brand new windows at the best price you can. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm selling. I believe in the product. If I didn't I wouldn't be doing it. It's that simple. I believe in the company I work for. I believe in the people I work for, okay? And what motivates me is helping people. I'm in there, and they're either going to heaven or they're going to have new windows or new door or something. But I want to help them. I don't want to make money. I make money because I help them.
Right.
Does that make sense? So my motivation is people. I love people. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. If I could do this and make a living at it, I would. Because
Yeah.
it's the coolest thing.
I love it too.
It is.
I
It's
love it
awesome.
too. I love
You
it
meet
too.
so many people with so
you
many
should have-
walks in life.
Yes, yes.
You know,
yes. Yeah.
and you have a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at you. You know, you don't look. You know, there's no saggy meat or nothing like that. I think a lot of fat people are worried. They see them pictures of all that skin hanging off.
I was
them. It's like-
fortunate. It wasn't the case for me. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
130 pounds. That's a lot of.
Yeah, I was 47-inch waist. I'm now 32.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember when I was 32. Maybe sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
But you know, that's where.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we all want to be, though.
Absolutely.
You know, and my goal is to lose the weight. You know, but I want to do it sensibly.
Yes.
A couple pounds a week.
Yes.
You
And
know.
keep it off.
Yes. Lifestyle.
90% get back.
It's a lifestyle change,
Absolutely. Not
you know.
not temporary. Yeah.
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And you know, when you say discipline, tell me what you mean by discipline. What did you do?
Focus, restraint, willpower. I mean, I believe discipline is a spectrum of some of those elements and a few more. So I did a bunch of those. That's how I do it. That's how I keep it off. I'm not the most disciplined at everything, some things, but that's the common string that holds all these episodes on the podcast together is discipline.
Huh.
Yeah.
You're right. That makes perfect sense, because if you're not committed to what you're doing, that's discipline.
Yeah.
You got to be committed to what you're doing and
part of
stick
it.
to it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big part of it.
Routine.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
But you can't make it so mundane that it becomes, you know, like eating salad every day.
Right. No.
You gotta, you know, that'd kill you.
It becomes trite. Yeah. There's
Yeah,
plenty of ways to be healthy.
Your ears will
Plenty of
start
ways.
wiggling. You're like
Yeah.
a bunny.
Ray, I thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure,
You
Joe.
be well.
You too.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.